Hello, my name is Oliver Bierstrom, and today I'll be introducing Andrew Cotton. Andrew and I met in 2017 when I was a senior and he was a freshman. My first memories of him are from the fall play and involve me asking myself, how did this random freshman and crew become so obsessed with me? Looking back, it was definitely because I was one of the 3 out LGBT kids in the upper school at the time. He talked about me and my friends so much, in fact, his mom thought I was a good influence and paid me to drive him home from school. Quarantine allowed us to reconnect, and it's still wild to me that now I'm talking to you about colleges instead of discussing our order on our 300th McDonald's trip after school. Since we met, I've watched you mature, becoming sure of your own identity and using your voice to make change. I will never cease to make jokes about your anxiety, but it's because your urge to help others often makes you forget to take care of yourself. I know when you go to college, you'll do amazing things. Now let me introduce you to you all, the obnoxious, practically my little brother, Andrew Cotton.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andrew Cotton, better known as the definition of a limp wrist. If that went over your head, I'm gay, obviously so. Being as over the top as I am, coming out wasn't exactly a difficult experience, as most people have some sort of clue within 5 minutes of talking to me. The thing is, that experience is an extreme outlier. So extreme that most people don't even realize it. Almost every LGBT person that I have met has had a much more difficult time coming out than myself, and there always seems to be one commonality. I figured out my sexuality prior to coming to USM, which is not the case for many of these people. Something here is preventing queer students from feeling safe to come out, and the fact that most people don't realize it is exactly the issue. The biggest issue that we have regarding LGBT visibility is that the USM community as a whole is not dedicated to discussing the queer experience. Classes typically do not discuss LGBT experiences, and if they do, it fails to be at a proper length. This directly attributes to a hostile environment for queer students. When they do not see anything in their classes that is similar to their own experiences, they develop the mindset that their experiences are invalid. This forces students into placated silence if they identify as LGBT, and gives students a chance to marginalize the group. As a queer student, one of the most difficult things to experience is having your basic human rights being debated as if they're a passage in a novel. And if other students throw bigoted language around, LGBT students rightfully see that others see their identity as something to be made fun of. I'm in no way trying to fault those who lack understanding about the severity of their actions, but ignorance cannot be excused. They open the door for their peers to see making fun of queer students as something that is socially acceptable. And that is the environment we have created by trying to not solve the problem. The thing is, a solution is far from impossible. There is so much we can already do. Firstly, and most obviously, is inserting more LGBT education into our curriculums. Of course, I'm not trying to say that half of every class must be dedicated to queer issues, but mentioning them more often than we do can work wonders on the psyche of marginalized students. English 3 can talk about the gay subtext in The Great Gatsby, US history can discuss the Greek decriminalization of same-sex relations, and sophomore health can give students a chance to learn about the differentiation between sex and gender. These aren't class-breaking additions. In fact, they often supplement what is already being taught. The more somber change that needs to be made is reinforcing accountability. This year, USM introduced the bias incident policies, which seem great in concept, but they really rely on students to report examples of bias. Without education, our classmates either don't know that there is a problem or are too scared to do so because of possible repercussions from others. It is difficult to do, but both teachers and students need to recognize the behaviors that are harmful to their LGBT peers. More obvious examples include using dead names or incorrect pronouns for our trans classmates, and using gay to describe things that are bad, but there are many more that I can include. As a community, we have a responsibility to stand up against discriminatory behavior. USM prides itself on respect, trust, honesty, fairness, and kindness. I have faith in our school to embody these tenets, but we can't claim to be that school when LGBT people don't feel safe and welcomed. I challenge each and every one of you to think about what you really understand about the queer experience and what you can do to learn more. Progress starts with education, and everyone here is more than capable of learning about their fellow humans, their fellow citizens, their fellow students and teachers. Thank you.
When I think of Ella, the first things that come to mind aren't all of the songs we've sang or all of the shows we performed together or our shared loves of odd, unique things. Those are all amazing things about our friendship, of course. But when I think of Ella, I think more of the time she's been there for me when I needed a shoulder to cry on, or the incredible talents she has, like singing and writing, or the times she's reminded me to drink water and eat when I'm having a bad day. She's a truly extraordinary person who I've gotten the pleasure to watch grow into a bright, gracious, and caring woman. She is like a glorious red cardinal, spreading its wings and letting its colors show vividly against fresh snow. That is a bit poetic, I must admit. But it describes how she has grown into herself, taking on the world and not backing down. She gives me hope through her selflessness and loving nature that our world can become something truly marvelous, as I know she will. And now, introducing my lovely friend, Ella Martin.
When I first started thinking about my speech, I had probably a dozen things I could talk about. However, none of them had the possibility to leave a dent of an impact on your lives or mine. I even had a speech already written. It wasn't until I listened to the video my friend Lauren recorded introducing me that I understood the most relevant topic. Once the video had reached its end, the first thing I thought about was how that was probably the nicest thing I've heard about me. With tears in my eyes, I sat kind of astounded. After a few breaths, I realized that I hear truthful compliments all the time, but I never take the time to actually listen to them. Self-worth is something that we've all had issues with at one point or another. We've all grown up in a world of predetermined social norms, ones where it shows that girls can't be strong, blondes can't be smart, and fat can't be pretty. Even in USM, we've subconsciously learned that perfection is the only answer. I've seen people leave testing rooms with their shoulders slumped and their eyes locked on the floor tiles. They believe that they had just failed the tests, and if they have, that it dents their image. And it's not even better if they pass. They had just left the room not confident in themselves to pass a test that they worked so hard to study for. We work skin and bone to perfect a self-image that we often don't even believe ourselves. During some college guidance activity, we had to fill out a mock sheet ranking ourselves on a scale. The questions mostly, if not all, revolved around our academic placement in our grade. Without much thought, I automatically marked myself rather low on the scale. Through media and stigmas, I've learned that people with anxiety, depression, and ADD can't be as smart as other people. And I believed it, because I wasn't getting the treatment or the accommodations to cancel them out. After Miss Erkey, my advisor, saw my sheet, she walked around our group for a few more seconds and stopped. We made eye contact as she announced to my advising that some of us were selling ourselves short. I thought about it for a moment, but I shrugged it off because I couldn't think of any times in my life that could confirm her statement. But I stopped selling myself short when I started listening to feedback I received on pretty much everything. I stopped thinking I wasn't smart as everyone else when I started believing my teachers when they complimented my work. I stopped worrying if I was a good person because my actions and words towards my friends confirmed I was. And soon, I won't need the words of others to know that I'm just as good as everyone else. My point in sharing all of this is that it is so much easier to believe the bad test scores and the stigmas than the compliments. You say that they're just being supportive and nice, and while it's true, the person complimenting you is complimenting you because what they also say is true. You don't need good grades to succeed in life. You don't need to be the best to be enough. You don't need to be liked by everyone. You just need to be liked by you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Francie Cohen, and today I'll be introducing my best friend and soulmate, Audrey Freer. Our crazy relationship is indescribable, but to say the least, I've never had a connection with someone in my life like I have with Audrey. If you haven't had the privilege to become close to Audrey, you might think of her as an extremely kind and enthusiastic person. But those close to Audrey know she's way more than that. Frankly, she's a nut job. One minute you'll find Audrey outside downtown, running for no reason like a crazy person, screaming like she's being chased. And the next minute, she'll be solving all my problems and conversing about life's complex meaning. All jokes aside, I'm beyond grateful for her, as she has tremendously impacted my life. Wise Audrey has helped me grow dramatically and positively shape the person I have become today. And Crazy Audrey has helped me make a high school experience full of countless memories and good times that, when looking back, will never fail to put a smile on my face. Audrey, I'm gonna miss you so, so much in college, but I know you'll do great things. And don't worry, I'll be calling you every 10 minutes. Introducing my best friend, Audrey Freer.
My name is Audrey Freer. Today I would like to talk about a piece of advice that a friend has been giving me for years. That advice is, don't be dumb. Not very profound and unclear in meaning. As the years have gone by, I've roughly translated that piece of advice to mean, don't waste your time. It's the human condition to spend too much time on things that aren't worth a second thought, especially for high schoolers. We worry what people think about us. We worry about how our bodies compare to magazine covers. We worry about impressing people that aren't even looking in our direction. We worry about being the odd one out and about that stupid thing we said. We've been taught to be self-conscious, and this is largely the fault of the strong presence of social media. Our generation is the first generation to have had technology like cell phones and iPads as a part of our childhood, and it has clearly had some negative effects. To be fair, the sense of community and the systems of emotional support that can be found online are incredible developments that help so many young people find their places. But we've become so invested in these little worlds that our perspectives are warped. Everyone puts their best version forward, and it tricks us into thinking that everyone else has it together, and we are the only ones that are behind. But we forget that we are all figuring this out one step at a time. When we're asked about our futures and what we want to study and what we want to do with our lives, we say anything except for I don't know, because we've been conditioned to believe that uncertainty is a weakness. So that brings me to the point that I want to share. The biggest lesson I've learned over the past 4 years that corresponds with my friend's wise advice is that to be uncertain and to be confident in that is an unbelievable strength. To keep an open mind and be accepting of the fact that there's always room for things to change and for you to change is a key part in growth and maturity. Don't get me wrong, I greatly admire those people that have had it figured out since day one. The dream school they can easily get into, the sport or instrument that they've dedicated years to, the friend group they've been close with since middle school. I always saw the lack of this in myself as a flaw, but looking back on the range of friendships I've had and all the different activities I've tried, I can finally see the value in trial and error. Though I still don't know exactly which school I want to go to, I can't wait to walk onto my future campus with a much stronger idea of myself and what my values are. I'm proud of myself for being open to change, and as we all know, change is something this country must learn to accept. Life is a very fluid thing, and at least for me, I feel that the way to make the most of it is to take those risks that we're so apprehensive of. Step away from how you want to be viewed and instead focus on how you view yourself. If you're not okay with something a friend said, but no one else seems to mind, don't let your opinion dissolve. Speak up and do it for yourself. Don't force yourself into a label just because it's more comfortable. Form your own opinions and allow yourself to be accepting of the fact that your perspective could always change. Strive to be a person that you're proud of, and recognize that you have so many mistakes to make and so many changes to undergo. I'm so excited for the class of 2021, and though I wish for all of us that this year could have been easier, we have taken all of these changes in stride and used it as the fuel to voice our opinions and inspire change. I can't wait to see all the incredible things the class of 2021 has to offer the world, and I hope that all USM students will remember that uncertainty and individuality are necessary traits to improvement. Thank you.
Lydia Rossetti is a wonderful person and very similar to the Grinch in all but one way. Her heart is 3 sizes too big. Rarely will you ever meet a person that cares so greatly about you and that you can place your trust in as much as her. Over the past year and a half, I have had the privilege of being her best friend and enjoying her company 24/7. I am proud to introduce that one girl who wears the red coat that is constantly roaming the hallway in search of extra work to do because she just needs to study a little bit more. Lydia Rossetti, everyone.
In the class of 2021, 29 of the 111 students are lifers. I had always assumed that I'd be graduating as a lifer at the school I attended for 12 years in Utah, but that didn't happen. I am a 2-year USM student now, but in actuality, I have only spent about 8 months walking through the halls in the classrooms due to COVID. Since we haven't had a lot of time to get to know each other, I want to share some of the highlights so you can get a sense of what it would have been like to go to school with me since nursery. The highlight of my early years at Waterford School was when I gave myself a mullet with craft scissors. I had just moved to Utah from North Carolina 2 months earlier, and my mom was excited to take a picture of me with my long, curly brown hair and my plaid school jumper before the first day of Nursery 3. However, she made a grave error. She went to answer the doorbell while we were working on a craft together, and in that moment, I quickly snatched the pink scissors and began to cut my hair. I only had enough time to cut the front of my hair off before she came back, hence the mullet. In kindergarten, my hair was recovering from yet another self-inflicted haircut. We had an annual tradition called going on a bear hunt at school. Here I am with my bear named Blueberry. Some things never change. Here's me celebrating my birthday on the first day of school in kindergarten, and my birthday on the first day at USM in 11th grade. I have always loved animals, and here's the day I took my dog Archie into show and tell. You can also see that yes, I cut my hair, again, just my bangs this time. My interest in science was probably rooted in my love for animals, as my elementary school science teacher practically had a zoo of animals in our classroom and outside the courtyard. Here is a photo of me in 5th grade with my close friend and a lamb. Middle school is when I finally made it out of jumpers and into my awkward phase. I'm sure some of you can relate. I started high school at Waterford, and like at USM, it meant just going to another part of the campus. Here I am at spring formal with 4 of my best friends. High school is when things really changed for me, as at the end of 9th grade, I left the school that I attended since Nursery 3 when my family moved to Wisconsin. After a year at boarding school, I started here at USM in 11th grade. I never thought I'd find a school to replace Waterford, but USM quickly became a home for me. I found a lot of similar traditions like the Sadie's dance. This is the Lydia you would have known if we had gone to school together since nursery. Although I have only been at USM since last year, I've had an amazing experience. When I found out that we were moving, I was scared of the change, but now I know that change is what makes life interesting, and I am better because of it. I've made some great friends, and I've loved the chance to be a part of a whole new community with incredible teachers and peers. The only regret I have is that because of COVID, I have only spent part of my USM time actually on campus. Here I am on the first day of my senior year. Let's hope for a return to some kind of normalcy so we can have a great spring semester together on campus.
Today I have the pleasure of introducing protactinium, iodine, germanium. For those of you non-chemistry nerds, these element symbols spell out Paige. Paige Hanley truly is a girl that has it all. She's very fashion-forward, as seen in page 182 of the 2014 yearbook, where she flaunts her bright pink poodle skirt and matching pink bow. Not only does she give Victoria's Secret models a run for their money, but her athletic skills are outmatched. Trekking through the Colorado Rockies with a 20-pound backpack, 2 knee braces, experiencing the occasional torrential downpour, and scaling a sandy cliff is no easy feat, but Paige persevered through it all. Besides being an athlete and an absolutely stunning human being, Paige is also incredibly brilliant, driven, hardworking, and extremely caring. I'm so very lucky to be friends with someone so genuine and down to earth. Paige, you and I have made some remarkable memories, and I wouldn't have been able to get through 11 years of piano lessons without you. I'm so proud of how far you've become, and I know your ambitious and kind-hearted personality will take you far in life. Without further ado, it is my great honor to introduce Paige M. Hanley.
Throughout my past 4 years in the upper school, I believe I've had a unique experience. I've had 3 separate teachers for the entirety of my time. They've watched me grow up from a freshman to the senior you see standing before you, and they have been there for many significant moments of my life. I've yet to figure out a way to thank them for everything they've done for me, and the senior speech is just the start. On my first day of high school, I did my best to navigate through the crowded hallways of the 2nd floor, knowing that I was somehow supposed to find room 4212. I have little recollection of the rest of my first day of high school, but being in advising felt like the only chance where not everything was rushing at the speed of light. Little did my advisor know that would be the beginning of my overbubbliness and a constant stream of outfit compliments. Mrs. Erkey, I appreciate every single time you ask me how my day is and then ask one more time because good how are you isn't always the exact answer. You have the most recognizably positive energy, and I don't think I will ever be able to meet anyone who will match that for the rest of my life. Thank you for being the rock in our advising family and always working your hardest to make USM a better place. Somebody else holds a position even past the 4-year benchmark. Having undertaken the challenge of managing the 8th grade choir on top of her upper school choir, I have been one of the 4 seniors this year to have had Mrs. Schuler for 5 years. Some of my best memories of high school have happened in her classroom and in her office. Mrs. Schuler, thank you for opening up your space to us and letting me study in your office for the majority of junior year. You always know exactly when to tell when we are too overwhelmed and let us watch Shrek for an entire period. There is one very specific reason that our choir is so close, even mid-pandemic, and that is because of the caring environment you upkeep without a fault. I like to say it's ironic that the most dangerous room in the school has become the most comforting to me. You can often find me in the chemistry room at least every other day. Mrs. Heaney, according to my transcript, I've only been your student for 1 year, but including 4 years of field hockey, my Compass 9 project, countless questions sophomore year, and my tower project, I'm fully willing to count you as one of the 3. You managed to maintain some sense of normalcy in my life since March and have kept me afloat for 8 months. Thank you for being my biggest cheerleader, the person who pushes me the most, and for giving me more advice than I will ever understand. I have to say, I completely disagree with the embroidered sign on your wall. In fact, you've done the exact opposite. I don't think it is possible for me to put into words the immense meaning you hold in my life, and I do not know where my life would be without you. You've taught me so much more than chemistry. During my freshman orientation, I was taught one very important thing that the student body has been told that I would like to reiterate. Your teachers are there to help you and will be more willing to work with you if you work hard in their classes. Apparently, I took that advice and ran with it, but in case no one has reminded you recently, you need to actively work for your education, and there's no better way to do that than with support.
I met Grace sophomore year in English class, and we've been best friends ever since. But since we moved to Wisconsin, it's forced me to look back on the memories we've made because I can't be with her all the time. And some of my favorites are when we'd go to get non-alcoholic margs at Robbie's, or when we went camping in the pouring rain, when we drove from Wisconsin to Michigan and had to stop at Sonic to get milkshakes, the endless Snapchat videos we send back and forth, or when we went sunset paddleboarding and had pumpkin soup afterwards. Grace's laugh is infectious, and it's something that really stands out when looking back on the time we've shared together. My favorite memories from high school have been spent with Grace, and I know we have many, many more adventures ahead of us. Now I'd like to introduce Grace Lord.
In 6th grade, I moved from a small town in southern Missouri to an even smaller town in northern Michigan. It was the kind of town where the downtown had one street and the best store at the mall was a Target. When my parents told me we would be moving, I had hoped it would be to a bigger city, or at least one that had more of a skyline than one tall building in the whole town. Nonetheless, we packed up and headed up north. By the time we hit Grand Rapids, I figured it couldn't be so bad, at least we were close to a city, but I was wrong. 2.5 more hours went by of nothing but trees and country land. Arriving in Traverse City, we sat down to eat, and all I remember is breaking down in tears because I realized how different things were going to be, and I already missed my friends in my school. It took me a while to settle in, but soon enough, I fell in love with the comfort of my small town and the opportunities it gave me to stand out. It gave me confidence and allowed me to grow in ways that I wouldn't have otherwise. I got the chance to play varsity volleyball in 8th grade, and have been starting ever since, so I'd say the small town thing kind of worked for me. It enabled me to grow into a leadership position at a young age and earned me respect on and off the court. The friends I met became some of my biggest supporters and still are today. The small town charm made complete by the clearest blue bays and the beautiful vineyard landscapes that run up and down the peninsula are what I became proud to call home. This past summer, my parents told me that we would be moving yet again, but this time I was given the decision to stay and finish my senior year or move to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Of course, my immediate thought was, I'm not leaving. I wanted to finish my senior year with my friends in the comfort of the high school I had been in for 3 years already. But the more I thought about it, I wondered what was really holding me back. I mean, the Lions and the Red Wings aren't that good, and I don't even like Michigan State or U of M. Go Buckeyes. But I realized that the only thing keeping me from jumping was fear. I was afraid of the unknown and worried about what would be waiting for me in Milwaukee. Turns out I was worried for nothing because I couldn't think of a better place to end up at to finish high school. Again, I was faced with new opportunities and new friendships that have made making this my new home that much easier. The prospect of the unknown, although daunting and intimidating, gives me great hope looking forward. I have faith that God's plan for me will take me to exactly where I need to be. Not knowing all the answers gives me comfort because I know that God does. I'm anticipating the excitement of new experiences and cherishing the idea of finding my passion and chasing my goals. The unknown has always been a really hard concept for me, and change has always been difficult. But each big change in my life has allowed me to grow, and it challenges me to step out of my comfort zone. Seeing the impact of how moving has given me new confidence and surrounded me with new opportunities, I look forward to embracing the unknown in the future. With college around the corner and questions of what to do with your life, I encourage you, don't be afraid of not knowing what comes next. Just be brave enough to take the first step. Thank you.